Hello and welcome to Print It to Play It. This episode we're going to be building Those Pesky Humans by Minion Games. This is a bit larger than our last game. We've got a zip file that we downloaded after buying it. I'll include a link to the page to buy it on RPG Now in the notes. And here we have all the files that came with it. There's a README without a lot really interesting in it. The cover we just saw. And a whole bunch of cards and stand-ups and things. Now, some of these are going to need to be printed on regular paper because I plan to glue them onto cardboard to make tiles and such. It really works better to glue normal paper onto tiles than cardstock. It just adheres better. It doesn't peel up as easily. It doesn't catch and peel off as easily as cardstock does, I mean. So you want regular print or regular paper for anything that you're gonna glue onto a tile. But anything that's a card, you want on cardstock. So let's go through and sort these out. I made 3 folders here underneath the episode. One is for things that I'm going to print at home. Anything that's black and white, I'll print at home. I don't need to take that someplace else to get printed. Anything that's color, I'm going to take somewhere else because I don't have a color printer. Well, I do have a color printer, but it's an inkjet and it's really expensive to use. It's cheaper for something that's got a lot of ink to take it out. And really, a color laser at the office supply store does a much better job than my inkjet. So let's go through these and see where we sort them. We have ability cards. Now, I don't really know what any of these are. These look... Alright, these are cards. They seem to be fairly small cards, but they're cards. And they don't seem to have backs. So, they go into the print on cardstock bin. Let's see, avatar cards. These are great big. 4 of them on an 8.5 by 11 page. Those are huge. And they seem to be something that I'd like to have a big copy of, a full size, a good, thick, solid. So I'm going to mount these, which means they get printed on regular paper. Okay, the cover, while it's nice to show at the beginning of the episode, I don't really need to print it. Maybe eventually I'll put it on a box, but right now I'm not planning to, so I'm not going to print that right now. Doors. Okay, these are stand-ups. The stand-ups I want to have nice and solid, so I'm going to back them with cardboard. So we will print those on normal paper. Figures are the same way. I love these figures. I like it when figures have fronts and backs. And the art is just... the style is kind of cute and campy, but it's detailed. It's really nicely done. I really like these figures. They get printed on normal paper because they're going to have a cardboard back. Human draw cards. Those look to be normal size cards, I think. Maybe slightly smaller than standard, but regular cards, again, no backs. Nope, I don't see any card backs anywhere. So I'm going to be sleeving these, but first I need to print them on cardstock. Manual, print, okay. Oh, sweet. So this is laid out to be folded into a booklet. So that's great. It's almost all black and white. I guess there's a little bit of color here, but not enough to really warrant printing it someplace else. So I will print this at home and we'll make a booklet. Manual screen is the same book, but formatted, not formatted to be a booklet. So we won't print that at all. Monster draw cards, I'm guessing are cards. Yep. Cards with no backs. So they go to the print on cardstock. Rooms. This is, yes, room tiles. Okay, these look really nice too. I dig the artwork in this. It's very clean. But it's nice. It's got the the 3D effects and everything. It's very nicely done. But these will be printed on normal paper because they're going to be tiles. Stands. Okay, so these are the stands that go underneath the figures. So these are going to need to be backed with cardboard too. And I'm going to have to find a way to back them with cardboard on the inside because I'm guessing that this text is important. So these are going to be printed on... normally I'd print these on normal paper, but I'm thinking that since they're the base, they have to hold the figures up. Just to get the extra structural integrity, I'm going to print these on cardstock because I need them to be tough. I need them to be able to hold things up. So, print on stock. And tokens. So the tokens are going to get cardboard backing. Fold each card in half, so it makes a double-sided token. Oh. Oh, okay, so you cut this right, or you fold it right along here where this line is. So then this will back to that, and this will back to this. So they'll all have chests on one side and other stuff on the other, and you only have to make one fold. That's pretty neat. So I will be doing this on regular paper because, as I said before, it glues better. So that's got everything sorted out, and you usually, with a print and play game, have to do some stuff like this. You have to look at the different components and decide how you want them printed. Sometimes it's convenient, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes to get what you want, you have to actually convert things to different types. Like for Airborne in My Pocket, we had to convert the JPEG files into a PDF that we can take to get printed. In this case, we have a whole bunch of PDFs. But with it separated like this, I can take these two folders, put them on an SD card, take it to the store, and say, everything in the print on cardstock, print on cardstock. Everything in the print on paper folder, print on paper. Doesn't give them anything super complex to work out. They can do it without getting confused, and everything should be fine. So I'll be back once I've gotten those printed. Okay, I am back with printed materials. This game turned out to have an awful lot of paper in it. So let's go through the steps quickly. These avatar cards are going to get put on cardboard. We've got a whole bunch. We've got some little cards and some big cards to cut out, rather a lot of them actually. The monster draw pile. Going to be a lot of cutting cards. Then we've got stand-ups to make. We've got doors. We've got some very pretty figures. And we've got bases to put them on. And then we have our floor tiles. So, we'll start with the avatar cards. I'm going to put these on cardboard backing. I'm using the same comic book backing boards that I was using before. Let's see, will these fit? I'm not sure. I'm not going to be able to get these on. I'm going to have to cut these out and paste them on in the layout. Now, I think I can get these sideways. Yeah, I can do them sideways. So these will take me 3 pieces of board. So first thing to do is get out Carl here, trim these guys up. I like to leave extra when I can. Let's see, can we see a line? There's a very faint line right here that you probably can't see. I can hardly see it in between these. So I'm going to leave some edge because I like to be able to glue past the edge of what I want and then trim it off. But I am going to try and get as close to the nearly invisible line here as I can. Oops, cutting in between these. There we go. How'd I do? Not too bad. All right, and this one I'm just going to cut across the middle. The line is much more visible this time. And this doesn't have to be super precise. There, that gives us pieces that we can glue onto our cardboard. So we'll take a piece of cardboard. Yeah, we can just lay these out side by side like this. Just trim off a little bit of excess here because I don't want to glue a whole lot more than I have to. So we'll mark some corners for these. And get these guys glued up. And there we have it. Nice, big, crunchy cards for all of our heroes. And hey, the ogre's a hero to himself, right? And there they are. Now it's time to make some cards. Starting with our little ability cards here. These are going to cause me a little bit of a problem. I was planning on sleeving all the cards, but these are not normal card size. So, they're going to have to be, I'm going to have to round the corners on them and just work with it. I don't like having cards without backs, with nothing at all on the back, but you do what you got to do. And if there's no backs for the cards, then there are no backs for the cards. Not a lot that I can do about it. There's no need to use Carl to cut apart the individual cards. And this actually is pretty fiddly. And you've got some tight tolerances here because they run over the borders. There's one stack of cards. And we're back. Had a little bit of a camera problem there. But right now I'm cutting the corners off of those cards that we just made. I said before, since these cards are too small to fit in sleeves, at least the sleeves that I have, there may be specialty sleeves that would fit these, but I don't have any of them. So I'm going to cut them all out. I'm going to trim the corners. I prefer to have them in sleeves, just because I don't like cards without backs. But, oh well. I could theoretically make backs for them, but I'm not going to. The game didn't provide anything that looked like it might be a back. So, oh well. And that does it for the little bitty cards. Next, we're going to make some big cards, and we're going to put them into sleeves once I get all this mess cleaned up. And we're back. Now it's time to cut out the more normally sized cards. This should be easier. Don't need to trim the corners. Got nice big black borders. So we'll just slap them through and be done. Now let's very quickly check out our card sizes here. This is a card sleeve. That sleeve looks a little bit big. I think there's two kinds of sleeves in existence. These are for Pokemon cards, and there are slightly smaller ones that are used for like Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I think I need to get some of those smaller sleeves. Oh man, I roughed that up. Unless this is extremely crooked, which is possible. Oh, look at how far off that is. It's even up there. Wow. Okay, I'm pretty sure that this is not Carl. This was just printed way off. Thankfully, these cards have great big borders. So keep that in mind, folks. If you're designing a game, make sure your cards have nice big borders, especially if it's print and play. Just look at how far off that is. At this end, nice and even. That great big chunk at the bottom. See if it's focusing. Focus. That just makes me unhappy. That means the printer was just a little bit crooked. And so now all my cards are just a little bit crooked. On an individual card, it won't be something that you notice. So that's making our 2 decks. We need to get these sleeved, and then we'll move on to the figures. Before we continue on with making the figures, very quickly we will make the rule book. I really like that they set this up this way. They have it set up to print as a booklet. So you just print it following the instructions that come with it. Fold it down the middle. And put some staples in to hold it together. I happen to have a fancy schmancy stapler. But if you don't have a fancy schmancy stapler made for doing this sort of thing, you can just use a piece of corrugated cardboard or a piece of foam core or a piece of styrofoam, maybe a couple of layers of a styrofoam cup or some styrofoam insulation, anything. Basically anything that the staple can go into without being bent and crushed over. Just use it as a backing, put your stapler against, and push it through. And then flip it over and use your fingernails to bend the, or a pair of needle nose pliers, to bend the staples over. And you have a nice, handy 12-page rule book. So with that out of the way, we can talk about stand-ups. The way we're going to do these is we're going to, these are designed to be folded along the base and then glued together. And that's exactly what we're going to do, but we're going to put cardboard inside when we fold it to give it a little extra stiffness and structure. Now, we will probably not get this perfectly straight. And I need to resign myself right now to that fact so that when it comes out not perfectly straight, I don't get grumpy about it. This will be fairly difficult because I like for things to be lined up, and it bugs me if they're off even a little bit. Thankfully, this design leaves plenty of extra space. So when we glue these together and cut them along these lines, if it's off, it can be off by a millimeter, maybe a millimeter and a half, and not mess up the graphics, not really damage it gameplay-wise. So, the biggest potential problem is going to be getting this nice and straight, getting the folds nice and straight. I'm going to need to cut this here too. And see, I left room for extra gluing around the edges, but here in the middle, I don't have any space to leave. So we'll just cut this close as we can to this line. Now, normally I'd use the corner of the scissors here to score what I'm folding, but normally I'm not scoring normal paper. I'm normally scoring like cardstock, which really needs the help. I think I may give this a light score, but I don't want to use anything even a little bit sharp. This is just a tiny bit sharp. Even when you're using it on cardstock, you'll very often get a tear along the edge, just a little bit, because it cut just a tiny bit in and it'll tear just a little bit. And I don't want that with this. So, how am I going to fold this right on this line and not mess it up? I need to score it with something. And I should also probably use a straight edge. I'm going to try this. This is the stylus from a Nintendo DS. It has fairly narrow but fairly solid end. So I should be able to use it to make a nice straight line. And I'll also need a ruler. Alright, now I'm going to use this separate piece of cardboard. It's a little bit roughed up, it got stepped on, it's bent. So I'm not going to use it to make figures, but I can use it as a backstop while I score. So we'll just let's make a nice dent right across here. Alright, let's see how well I hit that. Not too far off. We'll get it folded right on the fold line. We'll give it a crease. Then when we're ready, we'll glue up the back of the paper, stick it right on here, and as long as we do it correctly, we'll have nice lined up doors. That's the hope anyway. Let's see how it works. But if you want to fold something, and you want your fold to be straight and in the right place, score it first. I'm going to get these out of the way. I'll be doing these ones in a minute, but we don't need them on the table right now. Do need a nice piece of paper to keep glue from getting all over the table. So this is part where we have to be very careful, because these doors are just a tiny bit narrower than the width of this cardboard. I think that's got it. Just make sure that it's down the whole length. Nice and smooth. Flip it over, smooth this side, make sure everything is down nice and tight. Then we'll trim this off and do it again. So we'll set these aside to dry for a minute. And let's look at our first page of figures. Luckily, these have, let me bring it closer so you can get a better look. They have a border around them for where you should cut. And it's generous, which is very nice. So I'm going to cut even more generously than that. I still can't get over the quality of these figures. This artwork is wonderful. So there we have it. There's our figures. Now we just need to get this all cut out. Right, moment of truth. How close is the other side? Pretty darn close. Yeah, I'm happy with it so far. Now we've got the more interesting ones. Now, these have these little points at the bottom. I'm not going to try and keep those. I'm going to go by the red lines and the edges of the base. I'm not going to keep these little pointy bits. All right, I should know. Always cut the individual figures out before you start trimming, because the larger the area next to it, the harder it is to get it to fold. There we go. There's our giant ogre. And here we have it. One big batch of counters. Now we will, in time, add bases to these so that they all stand up. And these will be our monsters and our heroes and the doors through the dungeon. So the next thing we need to do is make bases for all of these. And that's coming up. Next, we need to do the bases. Now these are folded up and the figures are inserted into them. So the first thing we need to do, in order to reinforce with the cardboard, we need a bunch of little squares this size. And figure out how big that is. That is 3/4 of an inch. So we'll need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll need 40 squares, 3/4 inch square. Well, this just so happens to have measuring guides on it. So we'll make use of those. It's a little bit too long, so we'll do it this way. Now, get this lined up just right. that seems to be right about it. I'm going to go by this guide right here. Now, if I bring it along here, it shouldn't cut anything. Okay, good. So we'll move it 3/4 of an inch. 1, 2, 3. And cut. We'll do 3 or 4 of those. Save this for later. Now this will be harder since it's not long enough to measure the whole thing. So I'm going to have to actually measure some of these out and mark them. Find my pen and my ruler. I'm just going to mark 3 or 4 different spots. So 3/4 inch, 1, 2, 3/4 inch, 1, 2, 3/4 inch. I'm going to mark that on all of them. Okay, that gives us some markings so we can get it down small enough to fit on these measuring marks. But they don't work unless you have them facing upward. Ta-da! Little square. This is a problem because it's not... Alright, I will figure out a solution to that once I get these cut. That is, once I cut on the marks. Let's see, this will have to do. So right now we're there. We'll just take a smidge off to even it up. See, I'm using this as a guide to where the back end is, so I can go 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. Before I go any further, let's take a look at this. We'll cut out some of these and we'll verify that this is all going to work. Did I just say cut out these? We'll cut these out. And we will speak properly occasionally. So you have one little base. Which we will quickly score just freehand because this isn't quite so important that it be perfectly straight. Give it a little bit of score just to make it want to fold in the right place. These parts fold up like this, and then the tabs fold back like this, and like this. We put a little square in, and we fold it around, and that gives us a base. So I will just put some glue on the back of here. I will glue the whole thing. Ah, not the front though. And before these stick to each other, let me grab a figure. So we'll just stick a door in here. Press the tabs on. And there we have it, one door figure that stands up nicely. So yes, this plan will work. Back to what I was doing, which was cutting tiny squares. $40. There we go. Just got those all cut out. Now we'll finish mounting the doors, which means I need to finish cutting out the doors. I'm going to score these before I cut them out. That will make it much easier. And here we have all of the stand-ups put together. Due to my camera's reluctance to record for more than 5 or 10 minutes, I wasn't able to show the entire making of these. I would have just sped it up to take about 10 seconds anyway. So I decided to do it off camera and just show you the finished product. The next step is to make the counters. For that, I have this lovely 3/4 inch punch, because these counters are all 3/4 inch counters. Now I'm going to mount these on cardboard, but I've found in the past that if you mount something, especially these are double-sided, if you mount something on both sides of a piece of cardboard and then try to punch it, it destroys your punch. But this punch can handle the cardboard by itself and the paper by itself. So we'll be doing it that way. Need to trim off a little bit so the punch can reach, because the punches don't have a whole lot of depth to them. I'm also going to remove this plastic bit here because it gets in the way. It's made so that you can do a bunch of punches and keep the parts in there. I don't want to do that. It is convenient that you can see what you're doing, get it nice and lined up, and punch out your piece. And I will do the same thing with this leftover piece of cardstock to make the center blanks. Whee! So I'm going to pause the video now, get those all cut out, and I'll be back when I've got them ready to glue. I'm back. Here we have lots of little blanks and lots of little sides to put on our counters. These are the one-sided counters here. These are the two-sided counters here. Putting them together is simple. Just get some glue on. Make sure we get the glue all the way to the edges. Put it on gently. Put the image on gently. Line it up. And then press it down hard. And do the same for the other side. Once you press it down, it's pretty well going to stick. It's not going to move easily. But until you press it down, it's fairly mobile. You can slide it around, make sure you've got it centered properly. So that's one. Also need to do the starting hexes. These are designed to be two-sided. So it's a fold over sort of thing. We'll give these a quick score. Right across. Between the hexes. Make sure it's folding at just the right spot. Then glue it up. And wrap it around our cardboard. So just need to do those two a bunch more times, and I'll be back when I've got them all put together. And here we have all of our counters all finished up and laid out. One thing left to do is the hit counters, but those are already taken care of. These little flat glass beads you can get at your handy dandy craft store. This bag, which is about twice as many as we need for this game, was $3, I think. They come in a variety of colors. They're made for making like mosaics on sidewalks and stuff. But they're just little glass beads that are flat on the bottom, curved on the top, flat on the bottom. These ones are black. I've got blue, I've got red, I've got yellow. So instead of mounting and cutting out these little skulls, I'm just going to use these pretty black beads. And that will do it for my hit point counters. And that means I don't have to go to the trouble of mounting and punching out all of these. So the final thing to do is our floors. Unfortunately, the way these are laid out, they don't fit all on one piece of cardboard. There's no way I can twist this or turn it to get both of those hexagons on. So what I'm going to need to do, I can get two on a piece of paper, or on a piece of cardboard, but I need to cut them out from here first. I'm going to need to cut the page in half. Carefully trimming right along the edge. and carefully keeping straight across. And then we'll go around and leave some space so we can glue past the edges, because that works better. There's one. We'll just trim around this other one. So these will go on right like this. So this will work just like the others. Mark around the outside with a pen. Fill the marked area with glue. Paste these down. So I'll get started doing that, and once I'm done making all the tiles, I'll be back to show you the finished product. And here it is, our completed, fully produced copy of Those Pesky Humans. All of our cards, all of our figures, all of our tokens, and all of our floor tiles. And this turned out looking really nice. Just need to find a box to put it in to keep it all together and get ready to play. Hopefully I'll have the second part where we play Those Pesky Humans ready next week. If not, it will be the week after. But thank you for watching, and until next time, have a good one.